Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm checking my tech, y'all, like I always do, making sure that I'm actually streaming live. I see me on Facebook. Let me check a couple more places here and we'll go ahead and get started. Y'all know how I roll on Saturdays. We're going to come in. We got some uh, inspirational content for you today, but we won't be with you long. So drop on in with us if you're watching this on the replay. Hey, y'all. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Hope you're living in purpose today. Hope you are waking up today saying, today I need to rest because that's key to my purpose. Today I need to exercise. That's key to my purpose. Today I need to eat right. That's key to my purpose. Today I need to pray and read my Bible. Key to my purpose. And then you can move on into the what's and the how's and all of the natural things that you're going to create and build in your life. Well, as y'all know, I am Michelle Fuqua, and I would drop by today just to say, I am so glad to be alive. And this Ignited Life broadcast that we have started, this is our second broadcast, and we're going to see where the Lord is taking us. This does not preclude Sunday church. It's starting back tomorrow, y'all. This is just something else that the Lord is leading me to do. I was doing it anyway on Saturdays, right, from the park. So we're just formalizing it a little bit and bringing people in who are igniting their purpose. So today we have Kandace Johnson with us, K Joy. I met this awesome lady in Pompano Beach, Florida, at the what was the name of it? At
The
uh,
heart, art,
the
and
Heart
business of speaking
Heart,
workshop.
Soul, and Business of Speaking boot camp. And it was transformational and life changing. Met some awesome people, uh, Kay Joy being one of them. So, Kay, tell me a little bit about yourself and how we ended up here on a Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. Tell us
Sure.
how we ended up here.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle, one, for having me. Definitely glad to share a little bit about myself. I'm a Texas native. I'm born and raised here in Dallas, Texas. And as far as everything, my course from there, I was a first generation college student, got a bachelor's degree after 6.5 years. Took me a little bit through the journey from there, went on into the corporate world. But, being in the corporate world, I always had an ambition to climb that corporate ladder. But as I lost a parent many years ago, after that, I felt like I was at a point where I needed to share my voice. I kept feeling like God was saying, it's time, it's time, start sharing your voice. And I prayed and I'd ask, in what manner, Lord? I'd already been in the speaking world. I was a debater for 3.5 years in high school, been in the judging pool since I'd been out judging up to the regional level. So I was just trying to figure out, like exactly what does that mean, share my voice, right? So as I was praying about that, I felt him say, start blogging, but do your own blog so that you can share a very homegrown idea of what you would like to share on multiple levels. I prayed about the name, and the name came to me as rootstothesoul.com. And so I started working on a logo, things of that nature. But it all was really born out of, I hate to say grief, but my dad passed and things. I felt like a little bit clarity of voice from the Lord came talking about sharing my voice. So it started there, and it's been almost 10 years of blogging off and on and wanting to get into motivational speaking.
That's interesting. I speak to many ladies and men who
Mm-hmm.
are launched into purpose as a
Mm-hmm.
result of some pain or something
Mm-hmm.
that happens to them. And it some will say that the pain defined them. Others will say that the pain motivated them and got them in gear. What's your story? Did the pain define you, or did it put you in a place where you realize I need to go do what I'm supposed to do because tomorrow's not promised, or a little of both?
I think a little of both, to be honest, Michelle. I don't know that I have an exact answer for that, but when I think back to the moment that I was in, I had moved away for work, so I didn't know anybody. I met one other person who was also going through grieving a parent, which was definitely God led. I mean, not losing a parent, but connecting, right, with someone else that was going
Right.
through what you're going through and away from home. But I also felt like it helped give me the motivation to keep going because being away from home and not being able to move back home for 8 months, it helped drive me to a different focus because I was in the middle of training for a whole new job. And in
Right.
that first month, I was in and out due to being back home due to my father passing. So after that, it helped me stabilize my thoughts, I think, versus dealing with the grief at times. So I
Yeah.
have to say a little of both. I have to say
Little
a little
both.
of both.
Little both.
Yep.
I know when my mother got when she was diagnosed with
Hmm.
her illness, that she eventually transitioned, as a result of, I bargained with God, like, if you let my
Mm.
mama live, I'll do this and this, and or, if you let my mama live, I'll stop procrastinating and just really trying to negotiate with God to get the
Mm.
result that I wanted. Did you
Yeah.
have any of that kind of experience?
No, I think because it was after he passed that I feel
Okay.
like things came into fruition for me. So I didn't get that bargaining chip. I didn't get a
Okay.
chance. I probably would have definitely tried anything I
Yeah.
could have
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
But definitely after that, I felt like, it was definitely something my father would have been proud of. And, if definitely he'd been alive to see me do it, I think he would have definitely been on board.
Well, I think it's awesome that you took that experience and are now using it, to help others to move forward, and also continuing to do, what you're put here on the planet to do. And as you do more, it unfolds what the next step is, right?
I agree. I agree. I definitely feel like that is something that's come into play. The more I've focused on honing into that skill, the more I felt like different levels of next things I should be doing have come into fruition.
Very good, very good. Is there anything that from where you started to today, is there anything that you would change about the steps you've taken,
Definitely.
here's a better way to put it, because sometimes that sounds judgmental, right? How do you use what you've learned today to move forward? That's
Also,
a more
also,
constructive way of
yeah,
asking.
I will say what I said in a speech that I had Thursday is just get in there and get started, and then keep moving. At some point we slow down sometimes on that journey. So for me, as I took the next level with my corporate career, I moved away again, for a next level corporate position and trying to get acclimated in a new state, things like that. I put down the blogging after
Mhm.
2 years straight. I was starting to gain a following. I was in on online radio shows. I should have kept going, right?
Right.
But I put that down for a few years while I was there. Now I'm picking it back up. But what
Mhm.
would have happened had I kept going then? What would have happened had I started career, coaching then,
Right.
instead of putting things down for another, ambitious piece of myself? So I
Right.
really just, I would say that's the biggest thing. If I can encourage anybody to do anything, it is keep the motivation going and find that support system that'll help you stay in seat because you slow yourself down. And sometimes it's God's time. And so I don't want to misspeak on that because sometimes it's just not our time for that door to open. But I also think about the niche and market I was in South Carolina. Had I grown that following there and then moved back to Texas, again, I just asked myself, where would I be now?
Right.
On the journey of this being a full time career versus something I'm continuing to fill into now.
Right. That's good. That's good. We often, sometimes when I look back, I'll make it personal. I do say I wish I had done this or I wish I had done that. But to your point, I'm where I've taken steps, but I'm where God would have me to be right now.
Hmm.
Because he even when I was resisting, eventually I ended up at the point where I just surrendered, right? And I'm doing what I believe is the next thing, the next micro step, because they don't have to be big steps, do they?
Sure, no. And that's actually something else I'm really big on. As I've led teams in my, corporate career, and I hope to flow this quote over is just, celebrate the small victories along the way to the big victories. I think a lot of times we as people get very caught up and we only have these big milestones to hit, but sometimes those are really they're ambitious steps. Not nothing against that, but it takes time to get there. But if you celebrate those things along the way, the small things, it
Right.
helps you normally refuel along the way,
Yeah.
you and so your support system. So I 100% agree. We need those times to celebrate those things. And I think we don't always do that for ourselves or for
Uh-oh. I
that
might
is something,
Okay, there you go.
something that, we start doing more of. And definitely I want to help encourage people to do the same.
Yes, yes, yes. I know, I'm not big on celebrating. I'm very critical of myself and the things that I've done. Hey, Benola, good to see you, ma'am. And it's hard to say, okay, you finished something today. Let's go celebrate. And because I want to get the big result. I want to get the aspirational. Really, I'm not going to celebrate for 5 years until we get to the total top of whatever that next mountain is. But that's not healthy because you're working along the way. You've got people who are working with you and
Mhm.
supporting you, and they need to celebrate it also. You need to be able to show appreciation to the people who are on the journey with you, and celebrating allows you to do that, right?
I
And it
agree.
helps you to feel better, helps your mood and all of that stuff. So, let's see, what have we here? I imagine your father passing was a big challenge
It
for
was.
you. I don't know how you felt, but I know how I felt when I lost my parents. But moving from there into this place where you are now, what
Mhm.
do you see as your biggest challenge, either past or going from where you are now to the vision that you have
Mm.
for where you want to go? What's the
Yeah.
challenge? What's your
I
challenge?
I would say fear and doubt.
Mm,
That's the biggest elephant. I think I know for me, after losing my dad, and I felt like the idea of success changed for me. Meaning, was that all just corporate or personal, and what I wanted to do to help other people? So I think that's still an ongoing battle as someone who hopes to aspire to be a writer, continuing to motivationally speak to people and hoping to connect. That's always one of those things that I feel like, at least for me, I've battled with over the years. The fear and doubt piece, and definitely being a Christian, where that piece is coming from, but it's still there, and it's a big kind of monster, that sits on your
right,
shoulder.
right,
Will you do well in that interview? Will you say the wrong thing?
right,
When you're giving that speech and trying to touch so many people, who will you connect?
right.
Or will you not connect with them? And that people are maybe recovering from very tough situations. So that's always been the ongoing challenge from day one, from the
Mhm.
moment I can think of when I was sitting in a counselor's office talking about grief and my idea of success shifting to even a speech that I just gave this past Thursday. The fear and doubt, getting up there, getting it done, and sharing the dream, of what's next and what I hope to aspire through this company, building this company is definitely the largest challenge, because you're not always going to meet supporters, but you need to keep pushing if you feel like that's what God is leading you to do, to walk in your purpose.
That is so true. Don't be surprised at who supports you and who doesn't. Who's supposed to support you is going to be there, and you may not know all of them right now. You won't
Very
meet them
true.
until you're out there striving to do what you're supposed to, right? So tell me this: do you have this fear of forgetting what you're going to say before you speak?
Always, always. I
Yeah.
just gave a speech on Thursday. I'd written it out, I'd practiced it, and I still got up there. And in a moment, things went a different direction, which was okay. Most of the content that I wanted to get out still came out, but there may have been a few additional stories in there, a few twists and turns. So I think even people that have a public speaking background, and that's something I think a lot of people don't understand, we still get up there and have a little bit of nerves. I was
Mhm.
starting to perspire a little bit, mouth was extra dry. And it's
Exactly.
just, again, you feel like if this is something that's God led for you, you want to get it right and
That's
you
right.
want to connect. Thursday I was at a place with people who are basically getting back on their feet again, and sharing with them about career pathing and speaking. You definitely want to make sure, if they're taking an hour out of their day, to be with
Mhm.
you, that you are giving them the tools and resources to really grow, and
Right.
not just feel like they walk out of there and say, I was on my lunch hour, I really could have done five other things.
Right.
So,
Exactly, exactly. I know on Sundays, when I'm in the middle of a preaching series, I pretty much get all of it at the very beginning. God just downloads. I just feel
mm,
blessed the way He does with me. I study a lot, but I don't necessarily study for sermons because He just kind of downloads it. Then I outline it, and then I used to have those notes in my hands all the time, and they were my crutch. And then He slowly weaned me from the notes to where I don't really use notes when I preach. But even having seen how God unfolds that, I'm always afraid that I'm gonna go blank. In fact, my brain is blank when I stand up. I know I studied, I'm ready, but I'm blank. So when I open my mouth, then the preparation comes because it's like a reflex. You start doing what you plan to do. So my question to you is, when it comes to preparation, not just for speaking, you have a lot of aspirational goals and a lot of great things that you've done, and people can think that you just become an overnight success. Talk a little bit about what happens when nobody's looking, the preparation, everything that you do to deal with the fear, the doubt, the self esteem, forgetting your speech, wondering if you're doing the
Oh
right
yeah,
thing.
right. You know, Michelle, I'm a big advocate of counseling. So I go to therapy counseling as much as possible when I can fit it in my days. I went Thursday after my speech because I hadn't been in months, and she was like, "Great to see you. How have you been?" But I think that's a number one thing. And I think the biggest thing for me with that for people is there's such a big connotation about counseling, but you can go to counseling for a million things, right? And so I've gone sometimes to help with emotional boundaries. I've gone sometimes to work through stress and anxiety at work because I've been one of those that have been out on stress leave due to panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and still trying to live in my purpose. And you're not in a healthy state when you're in that moment. So for me, preparation looks like trying to find the best I can be in the wellness in that. So that may mean making sure I'm getting walks in, de-stressing, watching my anxiety. But sometimes that comes with a plethora of things, right? Sometimes that also means taking a break and stepping away and clearing my head.
Mm-hmm.
Walking a trail, listening to some good music or something, or a good podcast, something inspirational. Definitely a good sermon, or some gospel music. Definitely one of my favorite songs is A Shift in the Atmosphere by Jason Nilsson. I hope I'm saying his name right. I always feel like I'm going to say it wrong. But, things like that, or spending time with family that's inspirational. I love my nephews. I don't have children of my own. They always just amaze me, with the things that they think of or just where they're at in life. And so sometimes just stepping back is that preparation time as well, because things will come to you, like you said, how God downloads into you sometimes the morning of. Sometimes you just need that moment. And I can't say how many times I feel like God has nudged me at 2, 3 in the morning. Hey, it's time to get up and write. Here's a topic, and I'm like, oh Jesus, can we talk about that at 2 hours more? And so I'm
Right.
turning over, getting on my notepad. So the preparation really comes in so many different avenues for me. It's hard to say there's one or two things, but those are definitely a few things that I focus on, trying to stay balanced. So whether that's between trying to get in walks and watching what I'm eating, enough water, time to relax also, because that
Mm-hmm.
rest I've learned, especially in this type of business, I don't think I always realized how important that rest piece was, and
Mm-hmm.
refueling your own cup. Or as someone told me earlier this week, you should say your saucer versus your cup. So, just refueling so that I can hopefully be of service to other people the way I'm supposed to be, and be that mouthpiece. Because, like you said, a lot of times when you said God downloads into you, a lot of times the same day after your preparation, I feel like that's always because there's someone he knows you're going to connect with in the audience, or however many people, right? And so he
Right.
drops that message just on time for you. And the same thing happens with a lot of us in preparation. There's something he's already dropped for us because he knows what we're going to need to connect.
That-
So also being open. So that's the other part of preparation. Sometimes what you think you need to do to prepare totally changes, right? Because your day goes out the window. Five
That's
million
right.
things. So sometimes it just looks like being open and saying, Lord, I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be, because right now it's all different than what I thought it was fixing to look like.
What do you want me to do? So
Exactly.
I don't know if Lynn Means is still listening, but she's big into rest and
Mm,
breathing and having that intentional care
okay.
for yourself. And what I hear you saying is we have to have great self care. You talked about everything that you do, from drinking water to exercising to taking a moment to praying to going to counseling, and that's so important, and that means so much to me to hear you say that, because I think as Black women, sometimes we feel like we just have to keep going because the whole world is going to crash if we don't do everything right.
Exactly.
But when we rest, we find nothing falls apart, and then we're able to really think about what are the important things. I got 20 things on my list, but some of them I don't really need to do. But you can't do that from a place of fatigue.
Sure.
So it's so important that we care for ourselves. So thank you so much for saying that.
Of
I, I,
course, of
I
course.
appreciate that. We talked about your biggest challenge. What about the greatest reward you've experienced so
Mm,
far? Or you, I want to give you the opportunity. I don't want to box you in. It can be the greatest reward or your greatest expectation that you're looking
mm,
for as you move uh, deeper into your calling with your blogging, with your books, with your podcast, with your speaking. With, I mean, it's gonna balloon for you. You're gonna
thank
be doing
you.
so
I
many.
accept that. Thank you.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I would say definitely, before Thursday, it was just having the parts of the family accept that this is my shift, this is where I'm headed, and say, I support you.
hmm
That's huge.
hmm
Come Thursday, though, after my speech, one of the ladies that heads up where I spoke came to me and said, hey, I may reach out to you for some coaching myself. And that was huge for me because you're leading a center somewhere of coaching. And
right,
she's thinking about doing her a business as well on the side to help people outside of the type of business she helps lead. But I'd say even further than that, while I was there, one of the guys that was in the audience, his daughter has been struggling with some things. And he said afterwards, I'd really love to have you talk with my daughter. So many things you said today resonated with me, and I was fighting to not be here. And
right,
something told me to show up. And
right,
I told them during that session, this is step one. You showed up today. You could have been anywhere on your lunch. And so for him to want to entrust me with his daughter, I just pray that God will give me the words to connect with her with whatever she's going through, to
right,
feel comfortable to share with me. Because like I told him, that's huge for someone to say, I want to trust you with my child.
right,
And you don't know me. You've
right,
listened to me talk for an hour, and not
right,
even about child, concerns.
right,
So I would say for that's huge, and I probably couldn't express that enough to him. But for someone who is breaking into this, I feel like it's a lot for someone to say, "I'm willing to trust you with my child and see if they will open up to you."
hmm
And that, so I would say that was one of the biggest so far. That, and he actually after that said, I have X, Y, and Z on my plate, helping with a family member who has mental concerns. I'm also probably going to need some coaching because I need to find a better job to better
hmm
support my family. So I would say, those are probably the top three at this time.
And you were out there doing what you do, and you attracted people who you can serve, which while you're serving them, you're also building your platform and your business. So it's an economic return, right? And
It
I don't mean
is.
economic and money. I mean just economy of
No.
purpose.
Yeah,
And
the lady who runs that center was saying too, hey, we know of another organization we'd like to pass your information on to. And that
mhm,
again was just heart touching for me.
exactly. That is awesome. Well, let's see. We're 23 minutes in. We're coming down closing comments. Tell me anything you want to say to the audience, to the people who are on live. Hey, y'all, drop us some love in the comments if you haven't already. Please share this on your page if you don't mind. And let us know if you have any questions that you would like Kandace or myself to answer before we close. But I'm gonna turn it over to you. Tell us what
Yeah,
you want us to know. How do we follow you? How do we connect with you? Uh,
sure. Okay. So just a few things, I'm branching out on so many things right now. The focus really is, getting into communities where I can help women of all ages focus on building their self-esteem and awareness, as well as walking in their purpose. I feel a lot of times as young girls and women, we get caught up in maybe a box of what mom, dad, grandmother, society thinks we need to look like, or what our journey needs to look like. So that is the number one focus for me right now. I do public speaking coaching, not at the motivational speaking level, but for other things. So you can definitely reach out to me for that. But I look forward to just really growing in the communities and starting to share my voice, and getting my blog up and going. My website right now is under a revamp. So unfortunately, I didn't share the website because it is under construction until I get some other things completed, and I'll be glad to share that. But you can find me on most platforms. So under Instagram and Facebook, you can find me under K Joy, Joi. Johnson under both for Instagram and Facebook. If you'd like to reach out via email,
Say,
you can
say
reach
that
me.
again. K J
Sure.
K J
J
O.
O I J O I KJOI
Mhm.
Johnson on Instagram or Facebook. And then if you'd like to email, you can reach me at roots to the soul@gmail.com.
Is that right? What you see there?
Yes, ma'am.
And then your email is what?
It is roots to the soul@gmail.com.
Okay. So I want you all to have this roots to the soul at gmail.com. But if Candace is like me, we're trying to build our platform. So follow her on
Right.
Facebook, Instagram. When she posts, comment on her post, share her post, because if you believe that the things that we're doing can absolutely, good morning, Rise, can absolutely transform people's lives, then you owe it to those people who are out there to share it with them so that the word can go forth. So please support us. Look, don't stalk us behind, read our post and say that was good, or watch our lives and say that was good, because social media don't show us any love unless y'all tell them to show us some love. So if you don't comment, like, and share and save, click on our links, we don't go nowhere. We're nothing without you. So thank you all so much for listening in today. Or if you're coming in on a replay, comment, because anybody who knows me, I respond to every comment that is posted on my page. So if this blessed you, comment. If there's some topics that you would like us to have on this show, comment. Send me a DM if you have any prayer requests or anything that I can help you from in that perspective. I want to go ahead and throw a lob out there to let you know that I am going to do a webinar and a workshop on to help those who want to outline, write, launch, publish, and market their book. So it's going to be a broad stroke, because you can take a lot of time to do that, but I'm going to do an intensive, and I'll have more information out on that. uh, and that wasn't so, Candace, that wasn't on my list of things. That's not what I was planning to do this year, right? But God and Lee Nesbitt have called the audible. So that's what I'm going to be doing here uh, in the third quarter, is helping people to write that book, and if you've already written it, to get it to the next level. So
Love
that's what's
that.
coming. Uh, Enjoyed being on the show with you today.
Thank
You
you.
stay on, Kay. Uh, I love y'all. Lynn, Roz, I got two Lyns. Both of y'all. I haven't seen Lynn Black in a month of Sundays. Really, Lynn means either. Roz either. I got to connect with all y'all. I got to go walking with Roz. But let's connect outside of this virtual bubble. Let's connect one-on-one, human. Send me a DM and we can get on a chat and talk anytime. Well, thank y'all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you